So if I was using this in class, this would start out. I'm trying to be vague here for this PowerPoint lecture, because obviously what I'm trying to do here is, if I titled it, something for civil rights, I thought this would be a good introductory, that if I just make it bland, then there's not any preemptive judgment, because that's what we're getting at, is obviously with the affective domain, that it's either a shock, and so that's why I'm totally being bland about the title here. So, the story. A 14-year-old boy left Chicago to visit his granduncle in Mississippi. So, obviously with our Google map here, Mississippi. Several days later, the boy, along with his cousins and friends, went to Money, Mississippi. So that A on the map is, that's Money, Mississippi. Some of the money they had earned after picking cotton. The boy and his friends went to Bryant Store, a small convenience store, to purchase bubblegum and candy. So this is what the store would have looked like back in 1955. So there you go with the nice nostalgic Coke posters, which I love, but yes, this is the general store that the incident occurred, where the story becomes problematic. Upon leaving the store, Emmett allegedly whistled at Caroline Bryant, wife of Roy Bryant, the owner of the store. Nights after this alleged act, Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam woke the young boy out of his sleep and ripped him from his bed. So, the outcome of this: several days later, Emmett's body was found floating in the Tallahatchie River, unrecognizable with the exception of a ring he was wearing and his 70-pound fan tied to his feet. The state of the boy's body was horrific. His tongue was hanging out of his mouth, one of his eyes gouged out, his teeth were knocked out, the bridge of his nose was smashed in and been shot in the head. Obviously, what I'm trying to portray here is for the students to at least, hear, see and hear the horrific state of this boy's body. So therefore, they're trying to reflect, and so what I'd like them to do while I be reading this is taking notes on how terrible this was. During the time the Mississippi authorities attempted to bury the boy before his mother had the opportunity to see the body. The mother's statement here. The fact that I looked at the bridge of his nose, and it looked like someone had taken a meat chopper and chopped it. I looked at his teeth, and I only saw 2. I looked at his ears, that's when I discovered a hole, and I could see daylight on the other side. Just to try to even envision that is truly terrible. So therefore, I just think having the mother to even identify him, and with such a graphic statement like that, it shows that obviously the killers meant business versus anything else. So my question here: did a 14-year-old boy deserve to be tortured to death for supposedly whistling at a store owner's wife? So this is the victim here, where I'm introducing race as a factor. The murderers, obviously this guy right here, he's a lawyer. That's Mr. Bryant, Mr. Millam. The funeral, there's a lot of controversy about that. The mother sent the body back to Chicago, where the funeral was, and there was huge crowds there. Despite orders not to, she opened the casket so the world could see the reality of racial hatred. The significance of this case would be the starting point for civil rights. Obviously, here's my little disclaimer here. It's a little bit gruesome of this picture that I'm about ready to show you. So, that's what happened. It was very vicious. Very, very vicious. So, September 23rd, Millam and Bryant are acquitted of murdering Emmett Till after jury deliberates for 67 minutes. One juror said they wouldn't have taken so long if they hadn't stopped to drink a pop. Roy Bryant and J.W. Millam stand before photographers, light up cigars, and kiss their wives in celebration of the not guilty verdict. So, as you can see here, this is one of the pictures I wanted to show, that it just seemed like it was a big joke, that our justice system was a huge joke, and let them just carry on. Oh, you murdered a 14-year-old black boy, don't worry about it. There you go, on your way. Some reactions here from the some European papers. In Belgium, it was reported a judicial scandal in the United States. Obviously, it furthers my point what I just said. Another paper, killing a black person isn't a crime in the home of the Yankees. The white killers of a young Emmett Till are acquitted. France, the scandalous acquittal in Sumner, the shame of the Sumner jury. Obviously, if, you know, the juror said they wouldn't have stopped, it wouldn't take them so long and just to get a pop. So, wow, glad they could really be humanistic and, you know, think that an eye for an eye, or killing a young boy. You know, obviously boys and kids, they do some crazy things, but whistling, I think that's pretty mild on the scale of extreme. In Germany, the life of a Negro isn't worth a whistle. Very, very true there. That's what, you know, what this case points out, and what the verdict was. France again, after the mockery of justice in Mississippi, emotion in Paris. And obviously with these countries, there's, you know, at least 100 years difference between the United States and Europe, where it came to the conclusion sooner that, look, you can't own somebody's life, so no more slavery. And so these countries had a little bit more humanistic perspective versus the United States, where here, even the last part of the 20th century, still dealing with race issues, and still to this day. September 30th, double jeopardy. So Millam and Bryant are released on bond, and kidnapping charges are pending. So just to reiterate, double jeopardy, obviously in the United States you cannot be tried for the same crime twice. Therefore they had to reword their wording to try to get essentially another retrial. So the 9th of November, two individuals testified against the grand jury. The grand jury refused to charge the killers, and two white men go free. So once again they got off. A year later, Look magazine, an author, offered the killers $4,000 to tell their story. Killers went on the record, meaning obviously that they didn't mind that their names were attached to this. Basically, it's almost saying, yep, we did it, and they did admit it. They admitted that they killed him, but I think karma came against them. A year later, after the article, Millam says that, you know, he doesn't regret killing the boy, and that, you know, the article brought nothing but trouble to him. And so there you have it. And also and then African Americans within the community stopped buying from the stores of the Millam and Bryant family owned. The legacy here is that, you know, Emmett Till's memory still lives on. However, it didn't really live on into my life until this summer, when I had to study for my Praxis government test. So I wanted to further this point, and so to teach this to whatever class that I get to teach or have a teaching job, that Emmett Till's memory needs to be remembered. And obviously in my own history class, it wasn't preserved. And so it wasn't until later, with furthering my studies to become an American government teacher, that I wouldn't be aware of this. There's still plays about, you know, what happened during this time, documentaries, books, and also the foundation, and this is one of the perfect cases that tries to teach tolerance. So once again, this would be kind of my introductory to Black history, or African American history in the United States, and that, you know, we'd start from civil rights cases. So hope you learned a little bit. So did I. And sources here, obviously, to be a teacher, learn from example. So your kids should know that you put some research into this. Hopefully you learned something. Thanks so much. Have a good day.